cybercriminals issue a threat to disclose information following their intrusion into the University of Pennsylvania's systems, which they used to distribute bulk emails. Russian President Putin instructs the creation of a strategic plan for the country. Cybercriminals issue a threat to disclose information following their intrusion into the University of Pennsylvania's systems, which they used to distribute bulk emails. Russian President Putin instructs the creation of a strategic plan for the country's rare earth resources, with a focus on establishing connections with China and North Korea. China achieves a significant milestone in energy self-reliance by producing uranium from thorium.
French legislators advance legislation to tax major American technology companies despite significant opposition. Japanese studios such as Square Enix and Bandai urge OpenAI to cease using their content without authorization, subtly suggesting potential legal action if compliance is not achieved. Universal Music Group and the AI music company Udio resolve their lawsuit and unveil a new music platform.
NVIDIA, a manufacturer of AI chips, has become the first company to reach a valuation of $5 trillion. Apple is set to begin its 50th anniversary celebrations with an expected revenue of nearly $140 billion for the quarter. The Wall Street Journal questions whether OpenAI is growing too large to fail, while Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, expresses the company's ambition to achieve an annual infrastructure expenditure of $1 trillion. According to Reuters, OpenAI is preparing the foundation for a massive initial public offering, potentially valuing the company at up to $1 trillion.
You are obligated to undergo scanning by ICE's facial recognition application, according to a DHS document. In the United States, federal prosecutors are examining BLM leaders for the purported improper use of donations exceeding $90 million. NPR reports that Trump advocates for the termination of medical care for transgender youth across the nation.
In the United States, senators have introduced legislation aimed at prohibiting AI chatbot companions for individuals under the age of 18. Character.ai has decided to prevent children under 18 from accessing its chatbot services. OpenAI reports that more than 1 million individuals weekly discuss suicide with ChatGPT.
Harvard acknowledges it has awarded an excessive number of A grades to its students. J.D. Vance stands by his statement expressing a desire for his wife Usha to convert to Christianity, following previous outrage in India over his wish for his Hindu wife to become a Christian. China's President Xi Jinping humorously refers to a backdoor when presenting South Korea's President Lee with Xiaomi phones. South Korea's President Yoon allegedly intended to apprehend and eliminate his political adversaries, according to court reports. Bloomberg states that Italian Prime Minister Meloni is considering revising the country's voting regulations to support her re-election. Tanzanian President Hassan has been declared the victor of a contested election, securing 98% of the votes.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin's summit in Budapest has been cancelled due to a memo from Moscow. Trump has ordered the resumption of nuclear weapons testing for the first time in over 3 decades, and according to Reuters, Russia deployed a missile in Ukraine that prompted Trump to withdraw from a nuclear treaty, as reported by Kyiv. The Atlantic reports that senior Trump officials are relocating to military bases. The Trump administration is reportedly planning a new mission in Mexico targeting cartels, according to current and former U.S. officials, as Trump prepares U.S. troops for a potential ground invasion in Mexico to combat drug cartels. Additionally, the Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. is considering strikes on Venezuelan military targets involved in drug trafficking, although Trump has stated he is not contemplating strikes within Venezuela. Trump has also mentioned that while a war with Venezuela is unlikely, he believes Maduro's time is nearing an end.
Jihadi fighters linked to al-Qaeda advance towards Mali's capital amid escalating instability in the Sahel region. Former President Trump issues a warning of potential U.S. military intervention in Nigeria due to the treatment of Christians, stating he might enter Nigeria with force if the violence against Christians continues. In response, Nigeria asserts that any U.S. assistance against Islamist insurgents must honor its sovereignty and declines the U.S. military threat concerning the reported killings of Christians. Dick Cheney, the former U.S. vice president and a key figure in the planning of the Iraq War, passes away at the age of 84.
The White House has excluded the Atlantic from consideration for oil leases following political criticism. The United States is accused of intimidating EU diplomats in its efforts to eliminate green shipping regulations. Universal Music Group and AI music company Udio resolve their legal dispute and unveil a new music platform. NVIDIA and Oracle are set to construct the U.S. Department of Energy's most extensive AI supercomputer aimed at advancing scientific research. Kodak has discreetly resumed the direct sale of Kodak Gold and Ultramax film.
Asahi cyberattack cripples Japan's leading brewer during high beer demand period. Massive data breach reveals 1.3 billion unique passwords. European nations investigating security loophole in electric buses manufactured in China.
AI country singer Breaking Rust reaches the top of the Billboard charts with the song Walk My Walk. A German court has ruled that OpenAI infringed on copyright laws by using song lyrics without permission. According to a survey, individuals are now unable to distinguish between music created by AI and that produced by humans.
The U.S. Congressional Budget Office has been targeted by a suspected cyber attack from a foreign entity. Google has initiated legal action against a cybercriminal organization responsible for phishing scams involving EZPass and USPS text messages. The term vibe coding has been chosen over clanker as the Collins Dictionary's word of the year.
Analysis reveals that China's carbon dioxide emissions have remained stable or decreased over the last 18 months. Reports indicate that Trump is considering a proposal to permit oil drilling along the California coast. In 2023, water temperatures in Amazon lakes soared to levels comparable to hot tubs, resulting in the deaths of fish and dolphins.
There will be no federal support for AI following comments from OpenAI's CFO, Sarah Friar, who clarifies that the company is not requesting government assistance. 5 days ago, OpenAI's CEO also expressed that the U.S. should not provide bailouts to AI companies. Reuters reports that Meta is profiting significantly from a surge in fraudulent ads, as indicated by documents. Additionally, J.P. Morgan suggests that AI's $5 trillion cost will require involvement from every debt market.
Xi Jinping pledges to increase imports from Spain and strengthen relations during discussions with King Felipe. India finalizes an agreement to purchase 113 U.S. engines for its Tejas fighter jets, with SCMP noting that India's Tejas fighter jet will use U.S. engines to counter Pakistan's Chinese air power. The Dutch are prepared to relinquish control of Nexperia if the chip supply is restored.
The United Kingdom has temporarily halted the sharing of intelligence with the United States concerning suspected drug-related vessels in the Caribbean region. Former President Donald Trump conducted his inaugural meeting at the White House with the leader of Syria. In New Zealand, the police will be withdrawn from the process of gun licensing, although the near-complete prohibition on semi-automatic firearms will continue to be enforced.
To the implementation of 107% tariffs.
Indonesia bestows the title of National Hero upon former dictator Suharto. Serbian legislators give the green light to a luxury Trump hotel at a site with historical bombing significance, prompting Serbian demonstrators to pledge opposition to the real estate venture associated with Trump's son-in-law Kushner. Investigation by Milan into human safaris in Sarajevo during the 1990s, where tourists reportedly paid to murder civilians.
Trump claims that the Republican Party would never face an electoral defeat again if the filibuster were abolished. Trump expresses a desire for the new Washington, D.C. Stadium of the Commanders to be named in his honor. During a speech at Arlington Cemetery, Trump refers to Veterans Day as Victory Day.
Ukraine's anti-corruption agency investigates a significant scheme within the energy sector, while the country suspends its justice minister due to suspected connections to a $100 million corruption scandal. Trump writes a letter requesting the Israeli president to pardon Netanyahu in his corruption trial. A court in Gabon imposes a 20-year prison sentence on the former First Lady and the president's son.
GM is urging parts manufacturers to relocate their supply chains away from China. Germany plans to prohibit Huawei from participating in its upcoming 6G network as part of an effort to enhance national sovereignty. The Netherlands has decided to relinquish control of Nexperia back to its Chinese owner, with the Dutch government withdrawing from its intervention to engage in discussions with China.
China accuses the U.S. of attempting to weaken its relationship with Greece following remarks made by a U.S. envoy at the Piraeus port. Previously, a Trump-era envoy had cautioned Greece about the U.S.'s desire to exclude China from the Piraeus port, while Greece asserted that the port is not for sale to China. Meanwhile, China is quickly expanding its nuclear test site as Trump reignites Cold War tensions. Additionally, China instructs Japan to act appropriately after rejecting a request for discussions, despite both countries engaging in talks to ease tensions arising from PM Takaichi's comments on Taiwan.
China's clinical trial capabilities are now comparable to those of the United States, drawing increased interest from global pharmaceutical companies and investors. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announces that new dietary guidelines will be introduced shortly, stating, "We are concluding the conflict against saturated fats." In 2024, England experienced a 17% increase in fatalities associated with antibiotic-resistant superbugs.
U.S. and Russian officials have developed a new peace proposal for Ukraine. The Hill notes that Trump's 28-point peace plan has surprised Congress, as it requires Ukraine to surrender more territory in exchange for a security guarantee. Sources indicate that U.S. proposals to conclude Russia's war also involve Ukraine relinquishing some land and weapons. Hungary's Orbán states that Ukraine has no chance of winning the war. Meanwhile, Finland's president advises Europe to remain steadfast, cautioning that a ceasefire is unlikely in the near future in Ukraine. European nations are resisting the U.S. plan that would compel Ukraine to make concessions, and EU countries are insisting on having a role in the U.S.-Russia plan to end the war in Ukraine. In the United States, Meta triumphs in a significant antitrust lawsuit concerning its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp, with a judge determining that Meta does not possess a monopoly in the social media sector. Facebook and Instagram are set to begin removing Australian teenagers from their platforms due to an impending social media ban. Spain plans to probe Meta for suspected privacy violations on Android devices. The European Union relaxes regulations on artificial intelligence and privacy, prompting concerns from